Hey, how's it going? Breaking Bets here. Now, don't mind me. I'm just gonna be poking this here hornet's nest.
When I was a kid, I had an unhealthy obsession with Sam Raimi's 2002 film Spider-Man, starring Tobey Maguire as everyone's favorite web-slinger. Let me tell you, I love this movie, to a ridiculous degree. We had it on VHS and I spent countless Sunday afternoons watching it on repeat. And yes, I made sure to stick around for the Nickelback music video during the credits. I know it's a meme to hate on Nickelback like it is to call Weezer fans virgins, but you can't tell me this song doesn't slap. And as far as 6-year-old me was concerned, it was the official Spider-Man theme song. Now the reason I'm telling you all this is to basically set the stage for what my thought process towards superhero movies was at the time. I was a stupid kid, so to me pretty much all superhero movies were good. Shit, pretty much all movies were good. Everyone has that one movie during their childhood that made them wake up and realize, hang on, movies can be bad? But that's a conversation for another time. Now most people objectively like the Raimi Spider-Man movies, or at least the first two, but anyone who grew up at the same time that I did, and unlike me, actually had two brain cells to rub together, understood that these films, in all their campy but good-hearted nature, these films were exceptions at the time. Fact is, most superhero movies used to be pretty stinky, to put it lightly. Fantastic Four, Hulk, Daredevil, Ghost Rider, they sucked. It wasn't until 2008 that two movies came along and redefined the superhero movie genre. Obviously, I'm talking about the truly groundbreaking Horton Hears a Who and The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, but to be honest, I couldn't tell you the difference between the two. Okay, jokes aside, I'm referring to The Dark Knight and Iron Man. A lot of people point to these movies as the saviors of the genre. You know, these beacons of light that inspired a renaissance of sorts and spawned the golden age of superhero cinema. Between the two, like any aspiring film bro, I drastically prefer The Dark Knight. To be honest, I don't love Iron Man as much as most people do, but I respect it nevertheless. Now, following the success of The Dark Knight, DC went on to continue making movies, but Marvel essentially went on this wild streak of making movies based on their intellectual properties that people generally seem to really enjoy. And Disney, who bought the company in 2009, continued setting up the Marvel Cinematic Universe we all know today, and milked it dry with consumerist garbage. But that's not what this video is about. See, a lot of people love the MCU. It's one of many modern film cults, and if I had to point to the three main demographics that it's comprised of, I'd have to say 30-something-year-old millennials who compulsively buy every shitty Funko Pop they come across, dudes in their late teens who have watched approximately 5 movies outside of the MCU, and tween-age girls who think they have a legitimate shot with Chris Evans. I get that this sounds like I'm making fun of people who love Marvel movies, and yeah, maybe I am, but if you fit into any of these categories, I'm not judging you. Shit, man, I get it. Like I said, a lot of people love Marvel movies, and there's a reason why. They're entertaining. I'm not gonna go back and forth about whether or not my man Marty is right or wrong when he says, Marvel movies aren't cinema. As far as I'm concerned, I can only exhibit so much elitism before I'm not just poking the hornet's nest, but rather I'm sticking my head inside and screaming, Hornets? More like, wannabes. Got him. But yeah, the modern Marvel movies that make up the MCU are by and large enjoyable, fun experiences that millions of people like to watch, including myself from time to time. For me at least, most of them are more than passable, good even, and every now and then I really end up liking some of them. But there's a reason, one that's very specific and personal to me, that I just don't care about MCU films the way I did about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man when I was a kid. The MCU is all about interconnectivity. It's actually very impressive how they took all these movies, which started out mostly just referencing other superheroes in them, all the way to something like Infinity War and Endgame, where all the heroes from all the movies come together, and despite occasionally feeling a little messy to me, it by and large worked. That's pretty cool. But personally, I liked it when the scale was much smaller. Yeah, when the Avengers and Spider-Man and Ant-Man and the Guardians of the Galaxy are all up on the screen making out with each other, it's pretty impactful. But there's something really interesting about the idea of, this is New York City. This is Spider-Man, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's a dorky kid named Peter Parker and he has to fight the Green Goblin and get the girl. He isn't concerned about the Avengers. There aren't really any other superheroes being explicitly acknowledged in this universe. It's been a while since I've seen it, maybe there's some Easter eggs and references, but overall the whole world dynamic is much simpler. Spider-Man is 1,000 times more interesting when he's basically all on his own. I've always felt that while crossovers and stuff can be cool, I prefer the idea that these characters exist without the looming concept that they share the world with 100 other heroes. Even as a stupid kid who liked Spider-Man 3 the first time I saw it, I was like, Spider-Man and his quest to protect New York would be way less impressive if the Avengers were chilling there as well. And I still feel this way. I can't help but think, what makes this superhero impressive if there's like 24 people who can also do half of what he does occupying the same universe? Are his powers really all that special now? This personal problem of mine isn't even really exclusive to MCU movies, it's got just as much to do with the comics. One reason I can never get into comics beyond the casual level is the sheer amount of material there is. When there's so many intersecting storylines, it's hard not to feel intimidated or like you're always going to be missing out part of the story if you're not reading everything. But it was also about this feeling that my favorite characters and what made them unique felt like they were being diminished when you considered how many other superheroes they rubbed shoulders with. But seeing as the MCU has become such a massive fixture in current day entertainment, this nasty little opinion of mine has felt more and more unpopular. Maybe someone else watching this video shares my sentiment or at least understands where I'm coming from. Chances are it's unlikely, and if you're watching this and you love everything about Marvel movies, more power to you. I just can't help but feel this way. The massive scope of Marvel films comes off as a bit bloated to me, like there's so much going on that the stories are devoid of any real intimacy or genuine personality. And don't get me started on the pervasive Disney humor. My favorite films and stories tend to focus on smaller sets of characters. When done well, these films can feel incredibly personal and interesting. I just don't feel that with most MCU films. Superhero movies may have been my world as a kid, but nowadays I can't exactly say they're my bread and butter, which is why you shouldn't take my opinion too seriously. They're not my area of expertise. I'll be damned if I know what my expertise is. But Marvel movies? The hype just doesn't resonate with me. I enjoy most of them when I see them, but for several reasons, including the one I've just shared with you, I can't bring myself to care about them very much.